Welcome to Americana Archives. Today's headline is Education. What is it? This article was originally from the Scientific American. It says, the value of all knowledge should be estimated by its relation to the common affairs of life. No one we trust will dispute this sentiment. For this reason, then every young person should be educated in those branches of knowledge which relate distinctly to the profession he intends to pursue. The youth destined to be a clergyman should make himself familiar with the ancient languages, but the young man who is destined to be a merchant should rather make himself familiar with the languages of the living than seek to become acquainted with the thoughts of the dead by the language in which those thoughts were uttered. The education of the mechanic and agriculturalist should be practical, derived from accumulated experience, and certainly the elementary branches of our common educational system is the basis on which the superstructure is to be raised. The first branches to be learned, and learned thoroughly then, should be reading, writing, and arithmetic. Without these, no further advances should be made in any other branch. These first, then as many afterwards as possible. After this should come natural philosophy, and here let us say, this truly is real knowledge, real education. We do not mean to be understood as setting aside moral ethics, for we consider that virtuous and religious sentiments should be supplied to every person from the very moment the child begins to recognize the mother that presses it to her bosom from the stranger that may enter her door. But what we mean by natural philosophy is that it embraces all the varied kinds of knowledge, whereby a man can become truly great as a scientific man and a practical man too. The mechanic who understands his own branch of business thoroughly is a natural philosopher so far as that branch of business is concerned. And if he is a millwright and can make and calculate the power and effect of a water wheel and explain the natural principles of its operations, he certainly is a better educated man and possesses more knowledge than the linguist who can merely name the wheel in 5 or more languages. We do not undervalue a knowledge of languages, but we say again, first master the elementary branches thoroughly, then natural philosophy, and afterwards as much information as possible. We have been led to make these remarks from perceiving a great absence among our mechanics of the certain kind of knowledge which every man ought to possess in the business which he is following, and we sincerely exhort them to reflect calmly on the farmhouse adage, knowledge is power. We think that we have pointed out clearly what true knowledge is, and every man knows how he can gain it if he has the time to apply himself and the means. Many have not the time or means, especially our mechanics who have families. But for our young men, there is no excuse. Throughout all the mechanics associations in our land, we should like to see a system of conversational instruction adopted, a familiar questioning and answering. Education by no means consists in merely reading, writing, arithmetic, or an acquaintance, minute though it may be, with the natural sciences. After having acquired all these, we can exclaim with Newton that we have only gathered up a few pebbles on the shore of the ocean of knowledge. But certainly, if we gather not up a single pebble at all, we must be unprofitable to ourselves and recreant to the duties we owe to our God, our country, and our fellow men. Science is but an arrangement of facts, experiments, and certainly our working men have the best opportunities to acquire the most correct knowledge, to be most scientific, each in his own branch of business. This is education, and it is such an education that a lifetime is not too long to acquire thoroughly. Let every working man be guided by these sentiments, and in a short time we shall behold every mechanic walking with a front more erect and a mind more elevated. Poverty is no excuse in America for a man not being a gentleman, and riches no badge for a man to be proud and lordly. Any man of an honest heart and a noble and cultivated mind is fit company for senators or princes. 'Tis worth that makes man. This story came from the great state of Maryland, being reported in the Port Tobacco Times and Charles County Advertiser of February 10th, 1848. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to continue to uncover all of America's lost and forgotten history, then remember before you leave to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and remember to like and comment below. And we will see you next time on Americana Archives.